So my guest on this episode of the Neil Wilkins Podcast is Kris Rice. Now, Kris is going to talk to us about ChillPod. Now, ChillPod transforms cold immersion into what is claimed to be an immersive luxury wellness experience. Kris says that true recovery starts with true performance. So we're going to go deep into this and find out a lot more about the industry's most advanced chiller. So welcome to the podcast, Kris.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's a bit of a big build-up, isn't it? Really,
it really is.
The most advanced, the world's leading, and all this kind of stuff. Is it all true?
I believe it is. I mean, I'm a very honest and straightforward person, so I don't put things out there that I don't truly believe in my heart to be the case. And, I think we're really lucky that we're sort of coming as this wave of cold therapy is really cresting. I think we're kind of riding on the tails of things that have been done now, so we can learn from that and make it even better. So while we might not have been truly first to market 10 years ago, I think there's a lot of benefit to that because we're able to learn from what worked, what didn't, and really shape an incredible product from it.
I want to get into the whole cold therapy thing because, it is a big industry. It's a lot of coverage, a lot of media interest. There's a lot of people as kind of advocates, influencers, creators, focusing on this right now. But I want to hear a little bit more about your journey. Kind of what has brought you to this point?
Yeah. The truth is I did not want to even try cold therapy. I thought it sounded awful. I hated everything that it stood for. I was like, no, I just don't want to do it. But the reality was I first did it about 3 years ago. So at that space and time, I have 2 young girls. They're now a teen and a tween. And at that point, I had been beside my older daughter for almost a decade of her mental wellness journey. So she has had a rough go since she was a very young kid. And I was by her side to figure out everything that we could do to support her in feeling better. And it really was her that illuminated and kind of mirrored back to me struggles that I was having that I didn't realize for myself. I was super anxious. I didn't know how to process my stress well. And so I therefore just kept mounting and building up. And so I slowly started to figure out practices that I loved and that worked, whether that was breath work or meditation or movement and all of these things that are wonderful and I still love today. But the reality was I had built this unattainable list of things that I needed to do each day to feel the way I wanted to feel. And so a friend of mine 3 years ago said, Kris, why don't you just try cold plunging? And I was like, no, I do not want to. I don't want to do it. And she gave me space, but also kept coming back to it. And one day she asked me again, and I was like, literally, I have nothing to lose. Worst case, I feel exactly like I do right now. And we go from there. So something in me shifted to just be open enough to try it. And so I wanted the bar to be very low. So I literally ordered a horse trough online. I went and picked it up in my car and brought it home and set up this silly little cold plunge area. I made ice with my kids' storage bins. I did it DIY as far as you could go. But I didn't want I wanted it to be, if I hated it, it literally could go away and I never had to think about it again. I didn't have to feel bad about it. So, but the reality was I filled it with hose water. It happened to be a sunny day, which was lovely. I wanted to stay for one song and I stayed for 7 minutes and I got out and I felt better and more alive than I could remember. And so it was enough to be I don't like cold water. To this day, I still don't like cold water, but the way that you feel after is so worth it that I just kept going back. And it was in that silly little horse trough that I would sit in there and I would imagine all the ways that I could make this different and better and easier and more beautiful and all the things that could change. And so literally ChillPod was born from that tiny little horse trough. And like I said, to this day, still don't, like every time I'm like, maybe I won't do it. And then I get in and I'm like, so glad I did. Here we go. So that's my journey with discovering cold plunging.
Who would have thought this started with a horse trough? I mean, that's just
I know.
classic. I mean, it really is.
I really wish I still had it.
Yeah. You don't? Oh, it's
I
not
don't.
kind of
I'm kind of sad that I don't.
Oh.
I know. I should like buy another one and pretend it was that one, but I haven't done that.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Just kind of remembering that that first moment, because I think for a lot of people, they've heard it, they've seen the hype, they've read stuff, they're watching, their favorite content creator doing it and thinking, oh, this is amazing. But it's going to hurt, isn't it? So I don't want to do it. Just going back to that very first experience you had, literally getting in for the first time, were you concentrating on the pain, or was it kind of, no, I'm just going to switch that off. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to overthink this.
Yeah, I put on music because I wanted something to focus on outside of the cold. So, and that's still something I do. Involving all five senses, I think, is a really powerful way to just not focus on the cold. And honestly, because it was hose water and my own ice, like it wasn't that cold. So in reality, and I say that actually to be encouraging to people, think how good I felt and it wasn't that cold. And I think that's a lot of what I hope to share with people and really help them understand is like, it does not need to be this intense experience where it is as cold as you can possibly stand for 30 seconds and you have to get out because you can't take it any longer. There's a ton of reason to go in there at a higher temperature, even for a little bit longer. I could never do the temperature I do now for 7 minutes. That wouldn't feel good to me. But it was probably 60 degrees Fahrenheit that I was in, but it felt cold and it sure reset my nervous system and it was enough to go forward. So I just think that helping people understand that there's a lot of different ways it can look. It doesn't have to be ice floating around you. It doesn't have to be, this in the most intense experience. Maybe you go a little higher in temperature, you stay a little bit longer, and that can be great too. And I will say, I think because I had done so much meditation and breath work, I kind of knew going in to anchor myself with that. So I was able to focus on my breath, hear the music, and every time it just takes like probably 10 or 15 seconds. And then you're like, okay, that was cold, but I'm here and I'm okay. And you kind of settle into it. So that sort of take your breath away experience is really quite short-lived.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we can almost very easily, I guess, a lot of us talk ourselves out of it even before doing it, which by the sounds of it, that is what you were doing when you were saying,
totally.
I'm not going to try that, I'm not going to try that.
Yep.
And then it's almost you're building the hype of the fear. And then it's actually probably less bad, actually. And as you say, I'm still here. And it's 10 seconds in, I'm still here. 15 seconds in, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't need to look a certain way. I think that's really an empowering way to look at it, is like just tuning into your own body. And, there might be moments where your feet are just too cold now. Great. That's your cue to get out. But maybe you're in there and you're like, gosh, I'm in here longer than I thought, but I still feel pretty good. Maybe I'm going to stay for another 10 or 15 seconds. It's just really tuning into what your body is doing. And I think that hyper sense of presence and attunement to what your body is telling you, there's a ton of power in that. And when you have that in that particular space, what is incredible to me is how it parlays into all other areas of your life. It's like the way that you can listen to your body in that moment becomes the way you listen to your body when you're on a run and you're judging whether you want to go faster or slower, start or stop, or whatever it is. Maybe it's whether I go to bed now or not. It's just that attunement to your own intuition and kind of listening to your body. It's almost practiced there because it's quiet all around you. And then you can take it into those other areas of life where it might be a little more complicated.
I think this is really important stuff, I think, because a lot of us, myself included, have almost been brought up on this. Oh, it's for professional athletes. So you see the
Yeah.
tennis players, in their ice baths. You see
Yep.
soccer, football, rugby. They're all
Hmm.
kind of practicing this as the almost the detox after
Yeah.
strenuous exercise. So it's a very physical thing. But what you're advocating, Kris, is this idea that it's a much more holistic kind
Hmm.
of therapy, because coming at this from the sort of the mental health perspective is a very different one. I wasn't really
Yeah.
expecting that, I have to say.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
think this is kind of opening people's eyes to a much broader benefit of doing this?
That's really my hope, is because I wasn't an athlete growing up. I would consider myself an athlete now, but it is very like, it's kind of one lane that people get kind of indoctrinated into thinking, okay, if I'm not a professional athlete, then like, why would I need this? Right. I'm a mom building my business, and this has completely transformed my mindset, my mental health, all of those things to be able to go forward and do really big and hard things. And I think that's where I want to just kind of help create that new story, like that new way to think about it. Because it sounds almost kind of silly, but like I really do liken it to meditation, because you are exactly grounded in that present moment. If you're in it and it's cold, you are not thinking about your grocery list. You are not thinking about what meeting you have coming up next. You're right there. And there's few times that we can have that. So I consider it a spiritual practice where you really are taking that time to connect with yourself, and, you know, to be able to do that in 2 minutes versus a half an hour of meditation for some of us, like that's just what works best.
So this is, I guess, something that becomes very quickly part of the daily routine, part of sort of
Hmm.
habit stacking. Some of us kind of,
Yeah.
thinking about it is kind of, okay, what are the things that are good for me holistically? It's
Yep.
nutrition, it's good sleep, and it kind of almost feels that it fits into that kind of
Yep.
set of things which I almost need to be doing to be my
Yeah.
best self.
100%. I totally agree. And I think that that stacking of, when you do it, the majority of people that I talk to kind of have like a time of day that they like to do that. For me, it's like I'll get up and do a short meditation, get my kids ready, and then I go dunk before they go to school. So that's kind of my routine. And I know myself well enough to be like, well, if I miss that window, it's definitely not happening. So you get very the more that you can just make it a habit where it's like, well, this happens now, it's either going to happen or not, and great, you go forward from there. And I think the great thing is to like, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, it's only 2 minutes, like it can't be that great. I truly believe like 2 minutes can be enough. And so kind of that reframe on, how much time do we have to give to ourselves today? And some days it is that piece of it. And, the others might happen, they might not, but at least you've anchored yourself in that moment for your day ahead.
I love the way you're kind of describing this as very kind of a personal thing. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
there's probably guidance. There are certain things
Yeah.
to definitely not to do. Obviously, extreme, as you say, extreme temperature,
Mhm.
or extreme length of time if you feel your body starting to react in a way
Yeah.
that's maybe a bit alarming. But beyond those things, it feels very personal. There's
Mhm.
no kind of, well, shouldn't be probably any kind of ego at play. It's not, well, I'm going to
Right.
outlast you, or I'm going to do it in this certain way, or I'm going to do it in the
Yeah.
middle of the night. I'm going to wake up and do it because you wouldn't do that. And it's
Uh-huh.
almost, this is such a personal thing. That's how I'm reading it.
Mhm. I totally agree. I think that's the part that makes it feel accessible for more people. It's not that taking it to an extreme, and it is very ego driven, and how much can I do, and how hard can I push my body? It's almost like the exact opposite of it. It's like, how can I care for my body as it needs it today? And that might fluctuate and change. It might be that today 30 seconds feels right because your sleep wasn't great, and it's just not that is the perfect sweet spot. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great. And then the next day might be like, oh my gosh, I can do 4 times that. And who knew why? but like I'm going to lean into that, honor that. And it's just that sort of personal experience of trusting what is right for you in that moment and letting that guide you.
Are there kind of sort of restrictions age-wise? I mean, obviously, people listening and watching this are going to be within a certain age band because that's
Sure.
the general nature of my audience. But is there a sort of a too young age, and is there a too old
Hmm.
age where you shouldn't be doing it?
There really isn't. I mean, so to the older age would be heart health, right? You are shocking your system. It is a jolt to your heart. So if that's a concern to you, for sure, always ask your doctor and see what they, how they feel about that. And from a too young, I mean, I think you're kind of having to use your own best judgment on your kid there. If they're a super, athletic kid, I think a lot of kids are now starting to do, cold therapy just to kind of help their muscles recover and things like that. But I can tell you, let's see, my older one has done it. My younger one is always like, nah, I don't really want to. So, kind of letting them make their own choices too. But I think there's a lot of power in just showing up and doing it anyways for yourself and then seeing where their choices go from there too. But I do hope that younger kids start doing that because I just think from a mental health perspective, like we need every tool we can have to have the strongest and clearest mind that we can. And this is a great tool to get to that place.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting kind of guidance. I won't use the word advice because we shouldn't use the word advice, but kind of guidance to, as you
Yeah.
say, show up, see how it is, don't over push it, but if in doubt, definitely take kind of medical
Yeah.
advice. If there's potentially any sensitivity there, I think, that's absolutely sound. And kind of, I guess, extending on from that, are there, I'm male, so I have a very, very
Yeah.
kind of standard kind of set of hormones and things kind of
Mhm.
going on. It's very kind of, as my wife always says, it's kind of almost flatline in terms of where I am in terms of fluctuations. Maybe that's just me, but I'm male. For women, maybe of a certain age,
Yeah.
perimenopause or menopause, are there kind of certain times or certain stages where it becomes either a bit of a risk or more beneficial? Kind of how are we
Yeah.
playing with that?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because in the last probably year to year and a half, there's been a lot of conversation about quote unquote, women should not cold plunge. So there's been a lot of conversation around that from a couple of doctors saying that women, it's too much of a tax on a woman's body. And so therefore you should lean hot instead of cold. So I definitely disagree with it because I've done both. And I think that I wouldn't still be doing and or building a whole company around this premise if I didn't wholeheartedly believe that everyone in some capacity can benefit from it. From a hormone perspective, especially, I'm glad you asked that because truly it does reset your hormones. So whether that is for everyone, their cortisol levels, it will lower your cortisol levels. And at the same time, it will increase your dopamine. So you're basically bringing down your stress and bringing up your feel good hormones I mean, you can see where that would go, right? Like that's not a bad cocktail to have. And then from a female perspective, like as you mentioned in perimenopause and menopause, it really just helps to recalibrate your system. So you're going to really want to listen to, okay, is this too much for my body today? Is it the right thing to do? Like the more you do it, you just intuitively know where you're at that time. But it truly can help balance your hormones. And I really believe that that is why I've had an easier time in perimenopause than other people can tend to have, is because I started this before that. And it's allowed me to my body is just used to that and attuned to it. So it kind of helps me stay more grounded and steady than it might otherwise.
That's really, really, really interesting. And I think again, you just in different ways are kind of almost giving everyone permission to almost relax into this and feel into it. It's not like you
Yep.
have to make the decision and then every single day rigidly you have to do this
No.
at the same time. If you're not feeling it for whatever reason,
Yeah.
hormonal, age, wellness, whatever it happens
Whatever.
to be, you can pause.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I feel like then that gives you permission to, I like that word. And I think it gives you permission to do that in other areas of your life too. You know, I shouldn't speak for other people. I think in general, we can get pretty rigid though on like, here's what I do to move my body. Here's what I do to, you know, from a nutrition perspective. And sometimes it's just like, we need to loosen those boundaries a little bit and just kind of allow ourselves to ebb and flow from day to day, week to week. And the more that we're just a little bit softer and more gentle with ourselves, we really can end up where we actually wanted to be anyways and feel a whole lot better.
I never thought I was going to be talking to a cold water therapy sort of founder, and they're saying, be kind to yourself. Yes, immerse yourself in this freezing water, but be kind to yourself. Almost feels a bit of a juxtaposition there.
I know. I'm a weird balance of two things.
It's good. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it feels more healthy than I was expecting, I have to say.
Good.
Yes, that's all good. So talk to me about ChillPod. Tell me about ChillPod, because this is clearly not a horse trough, is it? This is something a little more stylish and sophisticated.
It is indeed. So if nobody has seen it yet, ChillPod is a very design-driven cold plunge. So what you typically see might be more of like a rectangular box made out of wood, those kinds of things. They're usually pretty good size and take a fair amount of space. And they, much like my old horse trough, you can imagine you're more of like a laying down or leaning back situation. So what I wanted to do was A, make it beautiful, and B, make it for the human body. So as you've kind of heard in my approach to cold plunging in general, like it's very focused on the human experience. And so I wanted to be able to, first and foremost, make your body comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. So what we actually did was, from a design perspective, I always do this. It looks like a little egg almost. It looks like a little egg shape, and it's upright. And when you climb in, there's actually an entire club chair built into it. So you can sit with your legs crossed, you can sit with your feet down, and there's plenty of room from a 5-foot person to a 6'8" person can fit in this. And so the cool thing is it can actually go hot and cold. So if one day you're feeling hot, that's great. And if one day you're like, nope, I want cold, you can actually even do that within the same day. I always tell people, if you want a cold plunge in the morning and have a hot tub at night, it's totally possible. And a lot of what made it different, aside from just like the looks, because I wanted it to elevate your space instead of being this funny conversation piece when you're in the backyard and talking about like, why do you have a horse trough when you don't have horses? Was really to take the effort out of all of it. So what you might not realize if you haven't created your own cold plunge is cold water is deceptively dirty. So it gets very dirty very fast, which I don't think most people realize. I certainly didn't. I was like, oh, hot water gets gross. Cold water gets gross. And also it takes a lot of effort to be able to make water cold. It's actually really hard to do. So when I mentioned that I would use my kids' storage bins, I would find the biggest bins I could find. I would literally truck them across the house, put them in our downstairs or freezer, and then I'd spill water all the way across. It was a whole thing. And so I just wanted it to be like, oh, look, I can pull up my phone and turn the temperature that I want, and I never have to think about it again. And the chiller will make it clean. So I really wanted to take all of those efforts out of it to, again, make it like a very luxury experience for you. And then the other thing that we kind of are doing differently is really we're focusing on a B2B environment as opposed to like a more residential model, at least to start. So, a lot of cold plunges you'll see are very targeted to you or me. And I just see this as an opportunity to bring this into businesses and really up-level their business and give them additional amenities, revenue sources, and all of that. And then once people try it, I have no doubt that they will bring those into their home too. But that felt like the easiest and the most interesting way to really like have the most people be able to experience this, as opposed to really focusing on a residential market from the start.
And in the short term, obviously, people can kind of learn from the experience, as you say, maybe sort of get
Yeah,
their own horse trough, and then kind of sort of
exactly.
go through the pain of kind of sustaining a horse trough with water in it, and then
Yeah,
eventually, potentially, come to you for the final
I agree.
solution, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm all for people being able to try it and experience it and make sure that it is for them. So, again, I think, and most people want that, right? They want to be able to touch and feel it and try it and be like, oh, I can actually do this. This is really cool. As opposed to taking a leap without having seen it or anything like that. So, by bringing it into places, it just kind of bridges that gap for people too.
Wonderful. Sounds really good. So if anyone's really curious right now and says, I can't wait to go and see if it's in my local spa or anything like that, I want to
Yeah.
actually kind of see the product and see what Kris is talking about, where should they go?
Yeah, so a couple options. You can check it out. So we will in the future have a store locator. We don't at this exact moment, but you can go see what it looks like. You can see all the details about it at the chillpod.co. And that is our handle on all social too. So if you head over to Instagram and do the chillpod.co, you will see all things chillpod there. You'll see a bit of my story. So I would welcome you to go check that out and just kind of learn more. And you will be then the first to know when we're in different locations. Right now, we are doing a pilot program in Palm Springs, California. Which has been really exciting and really fun to watch people who have no concept of what this is and go and try it, and everybody has loved it. So it's been really fun to watch.
Wow. And if you can bring cold water to Palm Springs, I mean, that in
I
itself
know.
is a feat, isn't it, really? It's pretty warm there. And if you're in Palm Springs, you'll know it's pretty warm. No, that's amazing. So what is your final question? What is your big dream, Kris? Where would you see this all going?
I really see cold plunging as just the start of where we're going. And what I really envision is this is just like a household brand that everybody knows about. And we're supporting all different areas of people's holistic health and longevity. And so we have tons of fun ideas and amazing ideas around future products. And I just think the cold plunge is going to be where we begin, and it's not going to be where we end. I see 10 years from now that this is, people lean to ChillPod to understand how to really live their best life.
Wow. That feels like a dream that you have to realize, because the world needs it, Kris.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for kind of sharing, your ideas and your thinking, your guidance here on this
Yeah.
for a lot of people, a whole new experience. And I'm sure some people are thinking, okay, well, I haven't necessarily got access to a horse trough, but I'm going to maybe have a cold shower tonight and just see how it feels.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If anybody's feeling curious, like hold on to the curiosity, give it a try. If you hate a cold shower, so do I. So just know there are lots of ways to try it from there.
Brilliant. Kris Rice, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.